Okay guys, so this is the last video that's going to go with the next problem set. All right, and we are going to get into solving equations now. Okay, so when we're solving equations, we may have something like this: 5 over x equals 2 over 3x. Okay, and there's really two methods that we can work on to solve something like this. And with all of these equations, you can choose to do either of these methods. All right, at some point. Maybe not the first step, but at some point. So the first thing you might see is we could cross multiply. Remember, when we cross multiply, we multiply our denominators, and this becomes 15x is equal to 2x. And when I solve, we get 13x equals 0. X equals 0. Okay. So when we get that solution, that's great. Maybe we choose to cross multiply. We have to check for something we call an extraneous solution. An extraneous solution is a solution that doesn't actually work. Oops, sorry. Which is really weird. So here's what I mean by that. If I were to plug x minus 0 back into my original equation, I would have 5 over 0 is equal to 2 over 3 times 0. Well, here's a weird thing. I can't divide by 0, so this actually would have no solutions, okay? So that's one way that we could solve that. Let's try another way with our common denominator to see that we're going to get the same thing. So if I have 5 over x, and that's equal to 2 over 3x, I could move both terms to one side. So I have 5 over x minus 2 over 3x is equal to 0. Okay, because I've subtracted 2 over 3x from both sides. And if I give my common denominator, this guy needs a 3. So I have 15 over 3x minus 2 over 3x equals 0. So 13 over 3x equals 0. And if I want to solve this, I notice that, hey, maybe I can multiply both sides by 3x. Well, our rules say that anything times 0 is 0, and we get 13 equals 0, which is not true. No solutions. So both methods are valid for some of these equations that we're going to solve. So we're going to use some examples from this upcoming worksheet. And remember, again, like, you have the answers, you can check your work, you're welcome to do that. All right, so I'm going to start with number 1 on this worksheet. So we have k plus 4 over 4 plus k minus 1 over 4, and that's equal to k plus 4 over 4k. So I'm going to choose this method, and I'm going to move everything to one side, just so I get everything kind of nice and neat. And that's just kind of a personal preference for me. If you are someone who's maybe catching on pretty quick with this, and you have another method that gets you there, you are more than welcome to use that. But this is just what works for me, and I like it, and it works. So I'm going to move everything over. And I have my equation here. So I look and I see, all right, what are my common denominators? I got a 4, I got a 4, I got a 4. But what I don't have in all of these terms is a k. So we have to go in and multiply by k. right. And I'm going to simplify. So when I distribute these k's to all of my terms, I have k squared plus 4k plus k squared minus k. And remember that this negative also needs to get distributed. So negative k minus 4. And all of that is over my common denominator of 4k. That's equal to 0. So I'm going to simplify my numerator. I have k squared plus k squared. So that is 2k squared. I have 4k minus k minus k. So that is plus 2k. And then I have a minus 4. And that is all over 4k. Just like before, I can multiply both sides by my denominator. And I'm left with 2k squared plus 2k minus 4 equals 0. One of our skills that is really important to us is solving by factoring. And when I solve this by factoring, I can actually factor out a 2. And this is going to factor into k, 2, and 1, negative, positive. K plus 2, k minus 1. So here are my solutions. Remember that when I get this to this step, what we're using is called the zero product property. Zero product property says that if a times b equals 0, then either a is equal to 0 or b is equal to 0. Or they're both equal to 0, but at least one of them is equal to 0. So what this is saying is that either 2 is equal to 0, either k plus 2 is equal to 0, or k minus 1 is equal to 0. So I'm going to set all of those equal to 0. Okay, so I start with 2 equals 0. Well, that doesn't make sense. 2 doesn't equal 0. It's not a solution. K plus 2 equals 0. Well, if I subtract 2, I have k equals negative 2. And if I add 1, I have k equals 1. So far, so good. But now I have two solutions. K equals 2 and k equals 1. Remember what we did up here. So this is the only thing we're going to need to check. We need to check if there's any extraneous solutions. So what that means is I'm going to need to plug in negative 2 and 1 into my original equation. Okay? So we're going to check for extraneous solutions. Sorry, I had to let my dog out real quick. Okay, so I'm going to plug in negative 2. So negative 2 plus 4 over 4 plus negative 2 plus 1 over 4, negative 2 plus 4 over 4 times negative 2. So here we go. Negative 2 plus 4 is 2 over 4. Negative 2 plus 1 is negative 1 over 4. And negative 2 plus 4 is 2 over negative 8. Okay, so now I'm going to keep simplifying. 2 minus 1 is 1/4. And 2 divided by negative 8 is negative 1/4. Oh, sorry. I see where I made a mistake. If you see my mistake, I actually should have made this negative 2 minus 1 over 4. So I'm actually going to erase a little bit here. Sorry about that. So 2 over 4 minus 3 over 4 is equal to negative 2 over 8. Going back there, so the only thing I needed to change was that negative 2 minus 1 is negative 3. And we get negative 1/4 is equal to negative 1/4. So that checks out. So k equals negative 2 checks out. All right. And then I need to check when k equals 1. So I'm going to do a different color here, and we're going to do 1 plus 4 over 4 plus 1 minus 1 over 4 is equal to 1 plus 4 over 4 times 1. All right. And we get 5 over 4 plus 1 minus 1 is 0 over 4. 1 plus 4 is 5 over 4. 0 in the numerator is going to become 0, so we have 5/4 is equal to 5/4. And they both check out. So our two solutions k equals negative 2 and k equals 1. And you will see that written in what we call set notation, negative 2, 1. This is a list of all the solutions. Okay. All right, so I'm going to do one more example, and then I will let you get after it. So if you want to try this on your own, all right, this one's going to be it's going to look a little more complicated, but I think you guys are with it enough to know what you're doing. So I'm going to do number 10, all right? And this one starts out kind of crazy. A squared minus 4a minus 12 and also a squared minus 10a plus 25 is equal to 6 over a minus 5 plus a minus 3 over a minus 5. All right. So remember that we have these two methods. We can either cross multiply or we can move stuff to the other side. Again, I'm going to choose this method because it's a little easier to kind of move things to the other side first and then start simplifying. So I'm going to subtract this term and this term. And I'm going to rewrite this as a squared minus 4a minus 12 over, and I'm going to actually, this a squared minus 10a plus 45 actually factors into a minus 5 and a minus 5. So 6 over a minus 5, remember I'm subtracting that term, minus a plus 3 over a minus 5. If you hear some squeaking, that is my dog playing with her toy. I'm so sorry. All right, and when we're trying to get a common denominator now, we see that we have a minus 5. Like a minus 5 is there, but this term has an extra a minus 5. So that means we need to multiply both of these by a minus 5. So there's going to be a lot of algebra skills in this problem where we're doing a lot of distributing, we're doing a lot of kind of, maybe you think of it as boring stuff, okay? But it's not, I don't want you to think that you are doing it wrong just because it's complicated. So here we go. Sorry, let's go back to black. So we got a squared minus 4a minus 12, and we're subtracting 6 times a minus 5 minus a minus 3, a minus 5. So something that's really important here is to keep all of my work organized. Okay? Just like when you're writing, you want to make sure that your writing is organized so that your thoughts make sense, so that you're able to build off of them. And so we want to make sure that everything is organized, we know where everything's at, so that we know we're doing all of our steps correctly. So I'm going to start with this piece here, this minus 6 times a minus 5. Remember that those need to get distributed. And that leaves me with a squared minus 4a minus 12 minus 6a plus 30. Okay. And then I'm going to bring that minus that's right here down. Next, I got to deal with this guy. This is where I have to do some distributing. I have to distribute both of these terms. You guys might think of it as FOIL. I just think of it as distribution. So this becomes a squared minus 8a plus 15 all over a minus 5, a minus 5. And if we want, we can write that as like a minus 5 squared. That's cool. All right, so let's do some more simplifying. Sorry, guys. A squared minus 4a minus 12 minus 6a plus 30 minus a squared plus 8a minus 15. Okay, all of that is still over a minus 5 squared. Okay, so let's see what can cancel out. So it looks like this a squared actually cancels out. So we can get rid of that. Negative 4a minus 6a is negative 10. Plus 8a is negative 2. So I can have that there, negative 2a. And then 12 minus 15 is negative 27. And then if I add 30, that means I have plus 3. So all of that craziness simplified into something that was relatively easy, and that's okay. So that's why I don't want us to think that when we have a problem and there are a lot of complicated steps, they may seem complicated, but that doesn't mean we're doing it wrong. Remember, this is just a puzzle, and we're just trying to figure out how this puzzle works, okay? So I'm going to multiply a minus 5 squared on both sides. And that leaves me with negative 2a plus 3 equals 0. Negative 2a equals negative 3, or a equals 3 halves. All right, so this one's going to be kind of tricky to check. I'm going to let you kind of check this, but I will say that this actually is our solution, okay? And if you were to check for extraneous, if you check, it works, I promise. All right, guys, so that video is for the second problem set. Remember that you have the answers for that problem set, and you are, encouraged to do as many of those problems as you need. You do not have to do all of them. but they are to help you with your exit ticket. All right, and hope to see you guys soon.